Another Dooley Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Hello again, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, and of course, this is Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI. And of course, we come to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Coach Spurrier will be in here, I think, a little bit later. That's the plan anyway. And then Friday's show will be live from Ironwood, special guest Tim Dooley. So I don't know if you want to tune into that or not, but anyway, he's gonna do a yes, no way, or maybe with us, if nothing else. Hopefully, we'll keep him sober before that. But obviously, it's a big week for me, golf tournament. But we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I will talk about it a little bit, and I will talk about it a little bit out there, but I'm going to try not to bore you, those of you who aren't playing. But I will tell you this. The silent auction has blowed up, as they used to say on SCTV. I blowed up good. It is incredible, all the stuff that has come in at the last minute, and we were already in great shape. So you can come out there and bid on anything you want to bid on. I would say we'll be done with golf at around 2. And then the silent auction probably be done by 3 in terms of bidding. So you can come out there and bid on this stuff. And there's going to be stuff you aren't going to believe. You're going to go, wow. How'd they get that? That was almost a Christopher Walken wow. Wow. How did they get all this stuff? And that's not even that good. The wow was okay. Gosh, shocking that I'm getting a call during the show. How is it possible? It's not. It's somebody I wish I could take, to be honest with you. We'll keep it from vibrating. All right. Not doing a very good job of that. All right. Let us start out by talking about the bad thing that happened this weekend, which was Florida getting swept in both baseball and softball in big series. It wasn't just that they got swept. It was series where they had a chance to make a difference. And in baseball, okay, we're in the tournament. We still think we have a shot at a top 16 seed because we have 2 wins over Arkansas, 2 wins over Miami, 2 top 5 teams. If we can take 2 out of 3 from Tennessee, we're in that. Instead, they get swept. And of course, yesterday's game, which I was at, was the worst. I mean, you're down, or you're up 4-0, and you can't hold the lead in the 9th inning. You're 4-1 going to the 9th. And then there's something just not quite there with this team. Then you go across the street. Well, actually, went across the street a little bit earlier, and softball got swept. And that I looked it up, and I think I'm right on this. And you can go back and look. Maybe I missed a year, but this is the first time in the history of the Gators that they have been swept at home in both sports on the same weekend. Now, when you think about, that's not surprising that it's the first time, but it kind of says what's going on right now. We don't really know. It is weird because all of a sudden, this is a stat that I looked up. That I looked up a lot of stats this week, and it's funny how when teams are either going really good or really bad, you look up stats because it helps illustrate them. I know that Coach Spurrier once said stats are for assistant coaches and losers and assistant coaches, but they're for me too, which you could be a loser. But this is a stat that I thought was pretty significant. Florida in softball and baseball this year, 7-15 in home games in the SEC. Home games. Now that's where you're supposed to be really good, and then, steal some on the road. They're not doing any of that. Look, it gets a little bit easier for baseball, but as Sully has said, this team's good enough to beat anybody and good enough and bad enough to lose to anybody. And right now they've got Kentucky this weekend, and he gave them a day off yesterday and just said, look, take a day, get away from things. You guys have been playing a lot of games in a row. Take it easy. Get yourself well. Come back and be ready to go. I don't know what else you can do at this point. I mean, look, they brought in a guy who's an interesting story and might have been the story I wrote, but things changed, obviously. But this kid who shouldn't be at Florida and I'm not even going to try his name because it's Cagliagange, something like that. Anyway, he shouldn't be at Florida because he should be in the minor leagues. I mean, he had Tommy John surgery. Actually, have been Tommy John surgery on this arm. And so he's just now recovering from it. So he came to school, just now recovering from it, had only one at bat, and then goes in the game. They say, hey, we got to try something. We've got 5 hits in 2 games. And he hits a mammoth homer, and then he gets a big sacrifice fly with 2 strikes, and he gets hit by a pitch. And we're like, well, play him more. Now, he's still not going to pitch maybe till next year, but he's a 2-way guy. We'll see. So there's a lot of young things. I mean, you look what Brandon Neely did yesterday. Going into the 7th with a no-hitter and still lose the game. You got your closer, rested, hadn't pitched all week, comes in, 3-run lead, can't hold it. They just find different ways, and that's the thing. The softball, same way. One game they go, it's a great scoring, scoreless duel, and they go up 9 runs in 2 innings. What the heck was that? Errors, a lot of errors. It goes back to the Tennessee game, the first game in baseball, where early in the game, Sterling Marlin, was he a fisherman or was he a race car driver? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, the right fielder, whose name I screw up all the time, misplays a ball because of the sun field. I get it, and then misplays it badly for a triple, and it gets them off to a good start in the 2nd inning, and they get 7. I mean, but then there are other games like yesterday. They get 2 hits in softball. They find different ways to lose games, and that's what is frustrating because it could be one day, and this kind of reminds me a little bit of what Florida fans have been going through. And look, this is the problem for Florida fans right now. You're football first. Most of you are basketball second. Some of you are gymnastics third, but that is still a little bit of a niche sport, as is softball. Baseball definitely would be the third most, I think, paid attention to sport. You're not getting anything out of anybody. Gymnastics was the only one that came through, and they didn't even win. And although, it was a heck of an effort by them. So it's been rough for Gator fans. But, I always say, you had it great for a while. Now it's going to be rough for a while. Then it'll be great again. Hopefully, hopefully you make changes and you get great in some of these other sports. But, this is 2 years in a row for baseball. Obviously, they went in as preseason number 1 last year, ended up 38-22, went 2 in barbecue in the regional. This year's team, 23-17, so they're 61-39 over the last 2 years. I did talk to Sully about this the other day, and he admitted that the transfer portal kind of crept up on him. Not that he didn't know it was there. He didn't think it was an important thing because as well as he recruits, number 1 recruiting class in the country. But what he didn't realize, and what I don't think a lot of us realize, if you've got the number 1 class in the country, you've got all these freshmen arms, man, they're going to be – guess what? They're playing against seniors. Everywhere you look, there's seniors because of the transfer portal. And people took advantage of it. Florida only got really one – Ryapel, I think, is the only transfer portal guy that's in the lineup. But it is what it is. All right, so I do want to say some positive things that happened at Florida. Me, Mr. Negative, as some people like to believe. Certainly, I did. Don't forget the softball goes to LSU this week, and then they have the SEC tournament here, which I'm going to try to go out there. I love it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Baseball still has those 4 left: Kentucky, at Mississippi State, at Missouri, and then South Carolina. 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that might have been a tough close. This year, it's probably not. Double sweep. 2006, Charlie Adams says, Shane Matthews said this morning it was the first double sweep since 2006, but I think one of those was on the road. I'm saying it's the first one at home. I'll go back and double check. I looked at it 100 times. He may be right, but I don't. I'm saying it's the first double sweep at home, but he may be right. I will go look at it. All right, so let's talk about some positive things. Men's tennis winning the SEC, heck of a job by them. Coach Shelton, Byron Shelton, has done an amazing job. He's been on the podcast. Amazing job. And, Coach Spurrier, well, I'm sure we talk to him about it. He talks about winning it all. Win the regular season, win the tournament, win your regional, keep winning. Just keep winning. And then also the men's golf team to get to the final and lose 3-2 in the final, no shame in that, to a really good Vanderbilt team. Those were positive things. There were some positive things out there. Of course, Billy Napier kind of making his tour of the state of Florida to talk to people. A lot of NIL talk, of course, and we're going to see where all this goes. The one thing that is interesting I was thinking about today with Coach Napier is we like to talk about entitlement. Like, players are feeling more and more entitled, and certainly we've seen coaches that did entitle and coaches that didn't. And there's a fine line between caring for your players and wanting everything to be good for them and helping them along the path, and entitling. And entitling means if you don't do what you're supposed to do, we'll let you get away with it because you're that good, Percy. Caring for your players means if they don't show up for practice or they miss classes, you punish them as part of caring for them. You're trying to make them better people. And there's a fine line that coaches kind of sometimes get lost in. And it's hard because I want this guy to play. He says he can't come to practice because his girlfriend's car broke down. Well, let me check on that. And the players are going to know. Or there is, hey, you don't come to practice on Wednesday, you don't play in the game. That's just the way it is. Different coaches have different ways of doing it. And I'm not saying both don't work. There was no more entitlement coach than Urban Meyer here at Florida. But we'll see with Coach Napier where all that goes. So we got a lot of other things to talk about. Hand law, 3 things. I got a really good one I'm looking forward to talking about, to be honest with you. I'm going to do a yes, no way, or maybe myself today, okay? Friday, you get Tim Dooley doing it. Hurricane Tim blows into town. Can't wait for him to get here. Hesser and Kipke presents baseball's Power 5, and I'm throwing in a bottom 3. My Braves aren't in the bottom 3 yet. And, of course, the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. Got that for you. So that'll be it coming up. But right now we're going to talk to Coach Spurrier about several things, including I want to ask him about the passing game. We talked about this the other day, about how the passing game changed. And he made a comment at one of our early shows about how much different he would call games out. I'm going to get a little bit more deeply into that. We'll take a break right now. We'll come back with more on Another Dooley Noted Podcast. What did I say? Podcast? The podcast. But Another Dooley Noted Podcast is presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Drip Co. To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam Drip Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Okay, welcome back to Another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And Meldon Law, of course, also brings you Coach Spurrier every Monday. We love having him on the show. And you just mentioned the NFL draft Thursday night. I'm actually doing a story talking to a lot of guys about what their draft day was like. What was it like for you?
It
was different.
1967. Bill O'Neill, Uncle Willie we called him. He was the attorney or agent for all the Florida football players. And, of course, he didn't charge us anything. But anyway, he said, Steve, come down to my law office downtown there, right off Main Street and so forth. The draft starts at, 1 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday, I forget. So I'm down there, and he's on the phone listening to it. And I'm sitting across from him, and I think he called me Orr, too, my middle name, He said, Orr, you just got drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. I said, you're kidding. I never talked to a person, anybody from the 49ers.
Right.
I talked to New Orleans Saints. They had an early pick and traded it. And then the New York Giants traded a pick somehow to get a quarterback. I don't know. There's some dealings there. But I was actually the third pick. And San Francisco sent 3 players to Atlanta for their pick. Atlanta was a new team, and I think they had the second pick or something. I don't know. And oddly, one of the players, Bernie Casey, didn't even go to Atlanta. He said, I'm gonna retire and stay in California.
He went in the movies.
Yeah, he's an actor.
Yeah.
I'm not going to Atlanta. I'm retiring from football. I'm going to be an actor. So they only got 2, and they were both linemen, a guard and a center, offensive lineman. So I went to San Fran, and they told me we're going to let you sit behind Brody for several years, and then when he retires, you should be ready to go. I said, okay, I guess so, because there was no free agency then. No. Whoever drafted you, that was your team.
Was your team, yeah.
So anyway, that's so I went out there and worked on my golf game a little bit and had fun in practice, but got to play a little bit occasionally. Yep. Yeah, every now and then.
Yeah, one year you had a really big year.
Well, it was 72. Yeah. Brody got hurt in 72, and we won the division that year. He was all right and actually played in the playoff game that we blew to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys beat us 3 years in a row in the playoff game. So anyway, that's the way it happened.
You should be playing against them now. They never win playoff games. So
they hadn't won many since. But Roger Staubach and those guys were they were pretty tough. They in fact, the game we lost at San Francisco, we had a 15-point lead, and there was no 2-point conversion back in 72.
Lead,
yeah. And We didn't get the onside kick. It hit our guy right in the chest and went right through him. And they recovered, and Staubach took them down and scored with about a minute left or something. And you know what's sad? The player that missed the onside kick, we had a reunion, 50-year reunion of that team, and I asked somebody if they'd seen him, and he said, Coach, he's still feeling bad about missing that onside kick. You know, we talk about all those great things. I caught this touchdown. I did this, that, and the other. And when a player makes a mistake like that, it haunts him also. Yep. That's part of sports, I guess.
Well, and obviously there's not going to be a lot of interest by Florida fans in the draft because there's not going to be a lot of Florida players drafted. But I'm just curious, when you would have a guy come to talk to you about the draft, what kind of advice did you try to give him? I mean, there were some that were obvious, like when Ike walks in, you go, man, you know. But there's others that you say, you might want to, you know.
No, Ike and Riedel were I think the only ones that ever asked me after we beat FSU for the national championship. Both those guys were first-team All-Americans, and were going to be first-round draft picks. And I think it was the morning after we'd won the national championship, and Riedel and Ike were sort of going on the bus. And he said, Coach, when can we come by and talk to you about whether to stay for another year or go pro? I said, there's nothing to talk about. You two guys are going pro. You've done all you can for the University of Florida. You've won 3 SECs and a national championship in 3 years. Now you guys have done enough for us. Now you go do something for yourself and your family and make a bunch of money, play as long as you can. And so that was certainly the right thing for those two guys to do.
So Darrell Jackson didn't come talk to you before he went? Because he was a little bit of a surprise when he went.
Yeah, he went early. Jack Jackson went early, too.
Yeah.
I think he was a second or third round. Yeah.
And Travis Taylor went early,
yeah, I would never try to talk anyone into staying. I would just say, hey, you got to make that call yourself and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing, because if you make a guy, you go beg him to come back, and he comes back, there's going to be a little entitlement feeling. And there's also, hey, how come I'm not getting the ball? You said, you really needed me to come back. And that's part of the problem.
Yeah, I think every player has to make that call to stay or go. And that's what I tried to do, is let all of them make their own call.
Yep. You didn't lose that many, though. Of course.
No.
I mean, when you think about it, there was only a few that left early. Ike and Riddell, Jack, you mentioned Travis and Darrell that year.
Shoot, we had players. Jason Odom came in with the 96 bunch that, won 4 SECs in the national. And we had that reunion here a year ago or so. And he said, Coach, I wish I could have got redshirted. he wanted to play here 5 years.
Yeah.
And he, I think, was the first or second round with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Played 7, 8, 9 years, something like that. But he wanted to play with all his team because we redshirted about the whole class
I know.
when Danny Wolf was here. All those guys, Donnie Young, and we had to play Reggie Green and Jason Odom. We had 2 freshman tackle that played that year in '92. And
Shane was running for his life a little bit back.
Well, early. Yeah, early. In fact, at the end of the '91 season, Shane looked at me one day and he said, Coach, who's going to play offensive line next year? We didn't have anybody. I mean, nothing. And I said, somebody will show up. Don't worry about it. So Reggie Green and Jason Odom, 2 true freshmen, showed up and became starters.
Jason
Won the
Odom.
division.
Yeah, had a great career.
That team finished 10th in the nation. That '92 team that was probably the lightest talent-wise of any we had. So they achieved quite a bit, that bunch.
They did. There were still some good players on that team, but you're right. I mean, the offensive line was the biggest issue. But I was thinking about this the other day. When you think about when you came into the league in 1990, what offenses were versus what they are now. I mean, and you had a lot to do with where they went right away, and how. And it took SEC coaches a while to kind of get to that point. Now you're only as good as your quarterback. Back in those days, you could, if you had a good running back, that's all you really needed.
Yeah. In fact, one time somebody asked Coach Stallings, Gene Stallings, said, "What's the difference between you and Coach Spurrier, the way y'all operate?" And he said, "Well, we'd be happy beating you 17-7. He says, "Spurrier wants to beat you 50-7. And he was right, too. I always just believed, score as much as you can early, and then if you can, let all the other guys get in there and play. And just attitude on the team really is good when everybody gets to play. But it was a difference. And so many defensive-minded coaches were in the SEC when I got there. I think I was the only one that coached the quarterbacks and called the plays for several years there. So now we've got a few more quarterback play callers. Billy Napier is going to do that. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm anxious to watch our guys go this year.
Have you drawn up any plays for them?
No, not really. I've watched them. They know what they're doing. They got some good plays. I watched that spring game. They're doing all the new little tricks of the bunch set and, post, wheelies, and crossers. And there's a lot of new plays that we didn't have. There really is.
Well, you were talking about that. I think one of the first shows we did, that if you were an offensive coordinator or a head coach right now, your offense would look totally different than what it looked like in the 90s. I mean, you guys would
a little different. Yeah,
you
would
have
different.
a lot of plays that weren't really known that back then.
Yeah, there's always a new play you can find out there. There really is. I found some new ones when I started coaching the Apollos and so forth. But yeah, there's a lot more you can do with those bunch sets and guys in motion and the fly sweep and all that kind of stuff. I think you got to do that nowadays to keep the defense off balance.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what this offense does and how they change some things up. But we were talking off air before you came on. I mean, obviously, not a good weekend over with the bats and balls this weekend. To get swept by, two teams at home is not
unusual.
Good.
Very
not
unusual.
Good.
I don't know if it's ever happened in Florida history.
I don't think it has. No, not at home. Yeah.
And our softball team and baseball team. But still a little bit of season left. They can turn it around. That's one thing about both those sports.
Right.
Even if you have a so-so season, if you get hot late, you can make a run when the playoffs start.
What do you do when things start going south, though? I mean, you didn't have many situations when things started going bad, but I mean, when things are, I know how you handled the loss at FSU in '96. You made those guys understand we've got a championship to go play for.
Well, we put the shotgun in right after that game too, but the 1 year that we really, you talk about snake bit. My first year at Duke. That team was about as good as the one that won the ACC, tell you the truth. We finished 5-6, and of the 6 losses, 5 of them were 7 or less points. We lost the game by 1 point, one by 2 points, one by 3 points. Oh, some of those losses were hurt. And
I can tell they still hurt, too, don't they?
Well, it's the one losing season I had in college there, and man, how'd that happen? But anyway, that's when we called Coach Allenson up for the last game of the season. We put it all behind us and beat North Carolina 25-10, and sort of got our mentality going through the off season. And the next 2 years, we won 7 and 8, and won the ACC. We quit losing the close games. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
It is when your team loses a game. I mean, sometimes you don't know what to say. Sometimes it's just let the players handle it. Sometimes it's go in there and be fire and brimstone. I mean, you were not a fiery guy, were you?
As long as the effort's there, Pat, you can't yell and scream at them. You
Yeah.
got to say, hey, man, maybe as coaches we should have done better, and we certainly could have done some things better, especially some of our defensive coaches and offensive play calling, me too. So now the coaches got to take the blame, and some guys loafed. You point that out too, and maybe put them on the bench the next game. So that way you get accountability throughout the team. That the guys say, hey, you can't loaf and play here.
I remember that in the '97 LSU game there where they won, and the film afterwards, you were upset because the hang-around guys weren't making any noise. They weren't trying to get everybody fired up on anything, and that you were just pointing out we need that kind of effort from everybody. If you're on the trip, make some noise, do something.
Yeah, we did encourage the down-the-line players to be good cheerleaders. We did. Yeah, I think that's important. Stand over there and, come on, defense, let's go. Let's go offense. Let's go O-line, blah, blah, blah. They can hear you. Players can hear you. So when the backup players are in the game, and be a good cheerleader over there. And our guys pretty much were. A lot of them were. If they weren't, they didn't go on the road trip the next time out unless they were pretty good, team rah-rah guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched any of the golf this weekend with Billy Horschel.
Yeah.
Had a chance there. He loves that golf course.
Yeah, Billy's played pretty well this year. He really has, and he's close to maybe winning one right here soon.
Yeah, hopefully he does. Yeah, he's playing really well. And then obviously, you're not a big NBA playoffs fan, are you?
Well, I know Billy Donovan's team's down 3-1.
3-1. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bucks. Boy,
Yeah, exactly. They got into a bad draw. You don't want to face them right off the box, but they lost a couple of games late, and that dropped them down to what are they, the 5, and Milwaukee's the 2, I think. But I still, for me, it's like the old cliche. You don't need to watch till the fourth quarter. That's what fourth quarter, I'll turn it on and go, I'll watch this, if it's a close game.
Yeah, when the finals start, probably the ratings will be a little higher. But sometimes in sport, that other team just has a great day, and there's nothing you can do about it. We were talking about our lady gymnastics team that OU just, I guess, had just a tad bit better day than we did, although I thought it should have been a tie. But sometimes you play the best you can, coach the best you can, and it doesn't work out.
Well, sometimes I know in gymnastics, we sit there and we go, it looked like a 10. I don't know what, we don't study it that close, but what was the worst call you ever got as a coach? Where the guy blew the call so bad that you got really upset with him?
Probably the NC State game of '88. Right for the game, let's see, we're sitting there with a 5-3. I guess we had a 5-3 record. 6-3 record, I'm sorry, 6-3 record. And we're playing NC State in Raleigh there. And the Peach Bowl called us and said, if you guys win, you're going to get an invitation to the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Duke had not been to a bowl game since 1960. Wow. So 28 years, we had a chance to do something first time in a long time. So the game rocks along, and we're ahead 43-40. Anthony Dilwig was sensational. Clarkson Hines, and they had a good defense that year. NC State was first or second in the conference in defense. But our guys could throw and run and catch. So we get them in 4th and 15, Pat. Okay, and they're about at our 40, too long for a field goal. And we played like bump and run with 2 safeties deep. Yep. And the receiver went down the field, and our guy sort of shoved him from the side a little bit. He didn't even fall down. And then he went on down the field. We had him covered, and they actually threw the ball, and we intercepted easily. We should have knocked it down probably, but we intercepted, and we're going to take a knee and win the game. So the play's over, and a referee in front of our bench all of a sudden throws a flag out there. The play's over, and everybody's looking around. What happened? Nobody saw anything. So he goes and talks to these other guys, and all of a sudden they called interference on us. And I said, what's called? He said, your guy pushed him from behind. I said, oh, wait a minute. Now, bump and run. He pushed him from the side a little bit, and they ran on down the field. He said, no, he pushed him from behind. Now, have you ever seen that call?
Never.
I've never seen it.
Never seen
So that was the first time I ever saw that. And so they kick field goal and tie the game, and they get the bid to the Peach Bowl. Oh. So we had to wait another year to get a bowl bid. But that one call knocked Duke out of the first bowl bid in 28 years. I guess that's about the worst one.
It's something about Raleigh because the 1975 Gators went up there and lost on a 2-point conversion. Lou Holtz was their coach at NC State then. Lost on a 2-point conversion. The guy never got in the end zone. But this was before replay, and the referee he thought he got in. But he never got in, and they lost 8-7. Can you imagine losing a game 8-7?
8-7. It can happen.
It can. Yeah. All right, you got anything else? Have you been watching any USFL?
Not too much. A little here and there when it can.
For me. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how it's hard to draw a crowd when there's no home team and so forth. But I hope those leagues make it. And I think that XFL is coming back in 2023.
Right.
I think Bobby Stoops is going to coach that Dallas team again.
Is he?
So, hopefully. It creates more jobs for players and coaches.
Yep.
So I hope they make it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the biggest problem I have is because you know the old USFL, that was a great league. There were good players all over the place. Most of the guys that are playing in this league, I don't even know who they
Yeah,
are.
I never heard of any of them. Yeah, that would help if we just heard of them
Yeah.
somewhere down the line. Yeah.
They should have. Well, remember what the old USFL did? They had territorial drafts, so you could draft, and you guys got FSU, right? As I recall, right?
Yeah, we had the Florida schools
Yeah.
and so forth. Yeah.
And Jacksonville, because they came in a year later, they got Georgia, and at the time that wasn't the best.
Yeah.
They weren't getting Herschel either. All right. Anything else, Coach?
Oh, not too much. Just hopefully our spring sports teams can have a good ending here. It's coming up.
Yeah.
Tournament time starting. to get
JC's
here.
team had a great year. I mean, a great SEC tournament.
Well, I got to mention our men's tennis team
Yes.
now. We're undefeated in SEC play. In fact, I was talking to David Whitley today, and I said, your newspaper needs to promote these other sports beside football and basketball. You know, every time we get a transfer or a commitment, he gets the headlines. And then a week later, he said, I'm opening up my recruiting again. They changed their mind. I guess we don't put that in the paper when they change their mind. But no, I just wish we'd cover these spring sports, baseball, softball, tennis, and I think lacrosse. We're into that right now also. So
well, you said, you told Jenny you can win it all this year, and you could win every level.
Yeah.
That's what men's tennis is trying to do. Win the regular season, don't lose. Win the SEC tournament, don't lose. You know, just keep going. Win the whole. And a lot of people feel like it's a better team than they had before.
tennis team?
Yeah, better
Could
than
be.
last year's
Could
team.
be. Yeah.
But that's great that they
be good.
got all those guys back. All right, we're going to let Coach go. We'll be back with more of Another Duly Noted podcast. We've got our hand law 3 things, Adam's Ripco to go, Gator of the weekend, there's Gators of the weekend, yes, no, where, maybe Hesser and Kipke, Power 5, and Leonardo's Millhopper. Quick picks, all that and more here on Another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And thanks to Meldon Law for not only bringing Coach Spurrier in here every Monday, but being a sponsor of the Bob Dooley Invitational.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Duly Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Ripco to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Okay, I got my other shirt back on. I think a lot of people think we film that ahead of time because I have different shirts, but no, we put on the Jeffrey Meldon shirt for Coach Spurrier's segments, and we appreciate them very much. Major sponsors of our golf tournament. All right, we got a lot of things to cover, so let's get right to it. We'll start out with the hand law, three things. Of course, three things is always every Monday and every Friday. It's presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville, and we appreciate Chris Hand and all the great stuff he's done for us and for everybody. All right, hand law, three things. Here we go. Number one, Coach Spurrier mentioned it, but didn't mention something that happened. I call it the forgotten sport, and that is women's lacrosse at Florida. Got a really nice facility. They're really good every year, but everybody's like, hey, how'd you do in the SEC? They don't have an SEC in lacrosse because there's not enough teams. So we kind of like, well, let me know if you win the national championship. Well, get back to us if you do that. But they did win another AAC championship this weekend, and that's 11 straight years they've won a conference championship. It's like he said, give them a little pub here, a little credit, But, the job Mandy's done has been tremendous. Every year they're right there and have a chance, and, they haven't been able to get over the hump of getting all the way, and that's kind of what a lot of sports have to deal with. It's what Georgia football had to deal with for a long time, but not anymore. That's number one on hand law. A shout-out to lacrosse and to Mandy O'Leary. He does a great job over there. Number two, a lot of people are already starting to get upset with preseason rankings. Florida's not going to be ranked. Why is this team ranked? They get upset with BPI. Nothing matters. Look, I was an AP voter, and I loved doing it, and it was important to me, but it really didn't matter. Don't worry about where you are, especially in the preseason, especially before your roster is established. Don't get upset, guys and ladies and kids and relatives. Where Florida is ranked right now is meaningless. It's just not that big a deal, and people are kind of getting, upset about it. Of course, they've been getting upset about a lot of things lately. I think they got upset, too, on because this is totally unrelated, but Tennessee's baseball team, after they finished the sweep and celebrated like they'd won the College World Series, which that's the way they do it. It's working for them. It's fine. They bust over to the swamp to shower there before they get on their charter plane. And that's, again, this is where money is going in this conference, where to be good, you've got to – it's almost like, remember the deal with DeBartolo and the 49ers? He would make the road trips the most – they would look forward to the road trips. First class, unbelievable lobster and everything. They would go on road trips and they go, great, we're on a road trip. It wasn't like most teams get on, got turkey sandwiches and, and it's cold and I get this guy sitting next to me and whatever. That's kind of what I think what Tennessee's done by doing that with charters. But the point is they were there and they found some Gator helmets and put them on with their Tennessee shirts. So they just trolled and rubbed it in. Hey, when you're got it going like they do, and nobody has it going like they do. Nobody ever has had it going like, what are they, 17-1 now in the SEC? It's ridiculous. I mean, look, they're not that much better than Florida. Florida easily should have won the game on Sunday, 4-1 lead in the ninth. Just couldn't get anything going offensively, but pitched really well on Saturday, lose 3-0, and then one bad inning. It was the second inning, and unfortunately, this is a team that you give up 7 runs at the first inning, they're going to go, sorry, we're going to roll over and not worry about this game. But I'm just saying the talent level is not that disparaging. Now, they did bring in the first 3 pitchers they threw were 98, 97, and 104. There's nobody like that in Florida. There's no question about it. That's number 2, even though it has nothing to do with what I talked about. Number 3, I'm going to tell you a quick story and about I know that you guys are all tired of me talking about my golf tournament, but I just want to tell this story. So go back to the South Carolina game 2014. Florida blows the game about as badly as you can. Blows it. And I knew at that moment that Will Muschamp would not last any, he may last a few more games, but he's gone at the end of the year. Wrote a column saying it's time for him to go. Like the guy. I think he's a really good guy. I think he's a good coach, but he's not right to be the head coach at the University of Florida. It's just not going to work. Not working now. It isn't going to work. Some guys just aren't meant to be head coaches. So I wrote that. And, when I think it has to happen, it has to happen. And the only reason I bring this up is that people say to me all the time, mostly the negative Nellies out there, I'm not going to use the word, the word I like to use, but I'm not going to use it. I'm trying not to use it as much. Who claim that the only reason I don't want coaches fired is because I want to get stuff from my golf tournament. It has nothing to do with it. It's totally irrelevant to what if you don't want to give me something because I wrote something bad about you, I don't care. You either do it for the charity or you don't. Well, who does do it for me every year is Will Muschamp. In fact, just Saturday came in the mail, and I know you're going to cringe when you hear it, but a authentic Georgia football helmet signed by Kirby Smart, 2021 national champions written on it. It's going to get a lot of money. We got some Georgia fans where it's going to raise a lot of money. The point is that he took the trouble to do that for me, a guy who said, you need to be fired from your job. If somebody said to me, I need to be fired from my job, I probably wouldn't get you anything. In fact, there's somebody who has been gave me a lot of a hard time and then wanted to play in my tournament, and I said, that's not going to happen. No, not if you want to pay me $1 billion. The point I'm trying to make in a roundabout way is I really appreciate Will Muschamp. And this has gone on for years. He did it with Nick Saban. He got Nick Saban to send stuff to us. He when he was at South Carolina, sent us stuff. Second year in a row, he's got a Kirby Smart signed helmet. It's bigger this year, obviously. I just want to point that out. I'm going to say if you should get fired, okay? Whether you want to give me anything for my golf term or not, they're not connected in any way, okay? In fact, I remember one of our great benefactors has been Tim Walton, and Tim Walton said when he got into town, when he got the job, he picks up the paper, and there's Pat Dooley grading the Gators, and I guess they had a bad game. I gave him bad scores. He goes, who is this guy? And then he reads it the next week, and he goes, yeah, these grades are, look at these. And then he started thinking about it. He goes, oh, they're actually pretty right. He goes, from that point on, I really got a new respect for you because you were just telling it like it is. And that's what I do. Leave me alone. Anyway, thank you to Will Muschamp. Thank you to everybody who's done so much for us, including Adams Ribs. And of course, Adams Rib Co. to go, Gator of the weekend. We've got several of them, to be honest with you. And they will be supplying lunch for the tournament Saturday. Can't wait for that. The Gators the Adams Ribco to go, Gator of the weekend. Let me try to get that out. I'm going with two different. I'm going with the Florida men's tennis team. You haven't lost yet in the SEC. You won the SEC regular season. You won the tournament, obviously. You can't do any better than that. And SEC championships still mean a lot around here. To me, they do. And congratulations to them, to Coach Shelton, to all the players, Ben Shelton and Sam Riffus and all the other ones. I think Vail got his 200th win or something this weekend. They just keep motoring through, and it's great. So they're going to get Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend. Also, John Dubois, who won an SEC championship himself. He won the individual title in men's golf. Florida, of course, just finished short, and he also put Florida into the final by making a big putt that won his match got him into the final. So there's a lot of good stuff going on at the University of Florida. Baseball's not one of them, but there's a lot of good stuff going on at the University of Florida. All right, so that is our Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend. Just saw the Adams Ribco cups. They're beautiful. All right, it is time for the Power 5. The Power 5 brought to you by Hesser and Kipke. We do this with baseball every Monday. Hesser and Kipke, of course, is a law firm based in Hale Plantation, specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklawfl.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. I know Ken is very much into what's going on with the Phillies and with the Sixers, and is excited about that. The Power 5, unfortunately, the teams I don't like keep winning. The Dodgers I have as number one. Their run differential right now is plus 44, 11-4 in the season. Then the Mets are 12-5. I got them at number 2. They're plus 32. What are you doing to me? Quit doing that. Quit doing that. I don't want the Dodgers and Mets to be playing for the NL championship. I mean, if it's not the Braves, please don't let these teams be doing it. Number 3, Toronto, 10-6. Even though their run differential is only plus 3, they've won a lot of close games. Number 4, the Yankees. Oh, now I'm ready to go home. The Yankees are in there. They're 10-6, and San Francisco at 11-5 is playing very well as well. But today, and we're going to start doing this, we'll give you the bottom 3 in the Hesser and Kipke Power 5. The bottom 3, number 1, your Cincinnati Redlegs, who are not doing too well right now, 3-13. And the Braves opened with them, and I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to them. I think they won one of those games. To see their record, I was like, what? How'd they get 3-13? They're better than that, right? I think they're better than that. 3-13. You are what your record is. Of course, it is very early. Texas at 5-10 certainly would be number 2. And then Baltimore at 6-10. Baltimore eventually will have the worst record. That's just, they don't have any players, not many. So that'll be the worst team at the end of the year. So that is our Hesser and Kipke Power 5 for baseball. We do this every Monday, and look forward to Friday when we'll tell you about the games of the weekend. And again, we'll be doing the show live at Meadowbrook, at Ironwood. We will, it may be a little bit of a shorter show, a little bit shorter, because we probably won't have a guest. We're kind of trying to fit this in, make sure our sponsors get their due while we're trying to have this tournament. A lot of work. All right, it is time for our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. You guys got shut out over the weekend. Strike 3 call. Nobody said Florida would win 0 games on Sunday, which is how many they won. They won 0 games. And that's not good. It was not good at all. So nobody qualified. I do have a list of the qualifiers. I think they're in my other notebook that have qualified so far. This is your last chance, and we'll pull somebody on Friday that will be the winner of our latest Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks, which include $25 at Leonardo's. I got a hat for you. Really nice hat, and we'll get some other things thrown in there as well. All right, so we're going to make it complicated because simple didn't work. So we're going to try to make it a little more complicated. We got 2 games on Tuesday night, so I give you a little bit of time to get your picks in. 2 games. They're both series are tied at 2. Minnesota at Memphis. New Orleans at Phoenix. Just give me 2 names. You want to go Memphis, Phoenix, take the home teams? That's all you got to type in. If you want to go with the Minnesota, Phoenix, you want to go with New Orleans, Memphis, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to pick, just type it in and send it to patrickdooley54@gmail.com, and that will, if you are correct in both those picks, you will qualify. And then on Friday, we'll pick a winner. I can't wait. Fired up about it. All right, finally on the day, yes, no way, or maybe, of course, is always brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, street dining done right. We appreciate Big Mills, and, of course, Big Mills will be out there cooking up sausage for the tournament on the first hole. It's like I always say, if you leave this tournament with no prizes and you're hungry, that's not good. You haven't done well. And you also should not be dehydrated. There's a lot of water. Guy Dennis. Remember Guy Dennis, the All-American lineman? He's lived here forever. Great friend of mine. Supplies water every year for this tournament. So we're happy for him. All right. So here is a yes, no way, or maybe presented by Big Mills Cheesesteaks. We appreciate Big Mills. Number 1, and I'm going to answer. The Gators make a regional. Just make, not host. They're not hosting. They let me tell you what they've got to do. They've got to win 7 of 12 down the stretch. They've got 12 conference games left. They need to win 7 of them. Usually you have to be at 13 and 17 to get regional consideration. They do have big wins. Certainly the wins over Miami are get bigger every day. The wins over Arkansas, those are big wins for Florida, and that's why just getting the 1 against Tennessee, that would give them 5 really high-level wins, and that's why that loss is the one that stings the most. So do I think they'll make a regional? Well, I'm just going to say maybe. It's certainly not a lock, and it's certainly very possible they won't. I hope they do, and I think we all want to watch it. But the other thing is we want to see them make a regional just because you want to see those guys get into regional action as young as this team is with all these young pitchers and everything. You want to see them pitching in regionals. So it's very important. All right, number 2, Florida repeats as national champs in tennis, and I'm going to go with yes on that because this team seems to be better than even last year's team. The main ingredients are back, and they've just gotten better. You know, Sam Riffis played on all these he played as an amateur, but he played in all these satellite tournaments and everything, just got better and better and better. I mean, Shelton is just keeping getting better. They know what it's like. They know how to handle the pressure. Yeah, I think they're going to win it again. I think they're going to go back-to-back and win another national championship. So we appreciate them. And finally, number 3, Aiden Hutchinson is the first pick in the draft on Thursday. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the draft on Friday's show. I'm going to go with maybe, and I'm leaning towards no way. But again, you have to be careful because you'll hear the word is that the Jaguars are going to draft Walker, the defensive lineman from Georgia. And Trayvon Walker. I mean, he was good. I didn't think he was that great. And it kind of shows you where the draft is, that it's defensive linemen they're going after because there are no major quarterbacks. Not that Jacksonville would take one anyway. But the bottom line is sometimes agents and people and general managers and all these other things will get the word out there. Oh, the Jaguars are high on Walker and make somebody trade who wants Walker and hope they can suck him into getting later picks and everything. Don't buy anything anybody says about the draft. Just wait for it. It'll come. It'll happen. We'll see who has him. So I'll say maybe, but I'm leaning towards no way. I think he's a better player than Walker. Walker has a better upside. Depends on what you want. You want immediate help or you want help eventually? Your call, Jacksonville. All right, that'll do it for another Duly Noted podcast. We appreciate Coach Spurrier, who was great today, as always. Some great stories from him. Of course, we're presented, as always, by Titan MRI, another sponsor of the Bob Dooley. There's only one more show where I'm going to be talking about it, okay? Well, maybe two, because the Monday show after I'll probably talk about it a little bit. And presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We appreciate the Meldons for everything they do. We'll be back Friday with a fun show live from Ironwood. And until then, I am Pat Dooley saying I'm deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.